Chapter 1. The Shattered Circle. The plateau shook beneath the storm. 3 suns glared from above, their harsh light fractured by the rolling thunderclouds that gathered along the horizon. Dust curled in spirals at Kaelira's feet as she braced her spear against the tide pressing in. The raiders had come in black armor streaked with crimson, their blades humming with energy, their laughter sharp as broken glass. Her spear struck true once, twice, each thrust ringing like a prayer. But the circle around her tightened. Dozens of eyes, slitted, alien, merciless, closed in. A hammer blow from a raider's gauntlet cracked her weapon in half. The splintered shaft fell to the dust with a hollow thud. Kaelira staggered, lungs burning. The copper taste of her own blood sharp on her tongue. She whispered a word to the gods of her people, the Thryn, but no answer came, only the hiss of enemy blades being raised for killing strike. Then the sky split. A shriek of fire cut through the storm, brighter than any sun. The raiders faltered, heads lifting. A shape blazed down from the heavens, trailing smoke and plasma like the tail of a comet. It hit the ground in a violent bloom of dust and fire that swallowed the circle whole. Kaelira shielded her eyes, heat washing over her scaled skin. When the dust thinned, a figure staggered up from the crater. Not Thryn, not raider, something else. He wore a suit scorched black, plates of composite peeling, sparks crawling along its seams. The faceplate hissed open, and she saw him, human, pale skin marked with soot, hair matted, eyes bright with something raw and unyielding. The raiders sneered, blades twitching nervously. The human raised his hands in mock surrender, his grin crooked and utterly out of place in the battlefield silence. "Mind if I join the fight?" he asked, voice hoarse but laced with humor. Kaelira blinked. A strange heat coiled in her chest. Not fear, not anger. Something older. Something like hope. The raiders lunged to erase the intruder, but the human moved first. No spear, no blade, just his fists and the broken plating of his drop suit. He fought like a wildfire, reckless and furious. Each strike improvisation turned weapon. He bled openly, yet laughed when a blow grazed him. Kaelira found herself stepping forward, half of her broken spear still clutched in her hand. She matched his rhythm, her precision aligning with his chaos. Together they cut through the circle, a storm against a storm. When the last raider fell, silence returned, broken only by the human's ragged breathing and the crackle of distant thunder. He wiped blood from his brow, glanced at her and smirked. "Guess I showed up just in time." Kaelira's throat tightened. The gods had not answered her prayer. But perhaps the sky had sent something else. Something human. Chapter 2. Stranger Among Stars. The orbital stronghold drifted like a jeweled crown above the storm world, its spires catching the glow of 3 suns. Vast rings spun slowly, maintaining gravity, while silver vessels moved like insects between docking arms. From inside her transport skiff, Kaelira stole glances at the unconscious human slumped across from her. His suit was scorched beyond recognition, cracked along the joints, wires exposed like veins. Yet he breathed, shallow but steady. No Thryn should have survived such a fall. When his eyelids flickered open, Kaelira found herself caught by the strange clarity of his gaze. No slit pupils. No protective nictitating membrane. Just raw, vulnerable eyes staring at her with unmasked defiance. "Where the hell am I?" His voice rasped like stone dragged across metal. "You are aboard a Thryn vessel," Kaelira answered, her tongue shaping the common speech with ritual care. "And you should be dead." The human gave a dry laugh, though it ended in a cough. "Story of my life." He shifted, wincing, but sat upright. "Name's Jace Renner. Guess I'm your uninvited guest." The skiff slid into the docking bay of the stronghold. A hiss of pressure equalization filled the chamber, followed by the hum of energy barriers. Kaelira rose, tall and composed, though her claws itched with uncertainty. She had brought a human into the heart of THRYNN space. Her people would see it as madness. The docking hatch irised open, revealing the hall beyond, gleaming metal corridors lined with banners of flowing script. The scent of ionized air mixed with incense drifting from wall braziers. THRYNN soldiers stood waiting, their silver armor polished, their crests raised in suspicion. Murmurs broke as their gazes fell on Jace. Primitive, one spat in their native tongue. Pollution, said another. Jace caught the tone, if not the words. He smirked, brushing soot from his ruined chestplate. Nice welcome committee. Guess I'm famous already. Kaelira shot him a look sharp enough to silence further jokes. Yet part of her envied that irreverence. THRYNN warriors carried dignity like a burden. This human wore mockery like a shield. They were led through vaulted halls toward the council chamber. The stronghold's architecture sang with alien grace, arches twisting like branches of a steel forest, floors lit from beneath with veins of plasma. Every surface gleamed with order, symmetry, and tradition. The council chamber opened like the heart of the stronghold. 12 figures in ceremonial robes waited, their scaled faces stern. The High Elder's voice echoed. You bring us a relic of a doomed world. Kaelira, explain. Kaelira stood tall, though her heart thundered. He fell from the sky, unbroken. He fought beside me when my spear shattered. He is no relic. The council's eyes narrowed. Jace only shrugged, leaning casually against a pillar, as if the weight of judgment meant nothing. Unbroken, he muttered. Guess I'll take that as a compliment. Kaelira suppressed the ghost of a smile. Already, the human was a fracture in the perfect symmetry of her people. And fractures, she knew, could spread. Chapter 3, Neon Markets. Hidden Blades. The trade station hung like a vast lantern in the void, its exterior a patchwork of metals from a dozen conquered worlds. Docking arms stretched outward like skeletal fingers, each lined with ships of different design. Sleek THRYNN frigates beside hulking cargo haulers, their hulls tattooed with glowing glyphs. Inside, the air was thick with scents Kaelira barely tolerated. Spiced oils, burning coils of incense, the musk of species pressed together in too little space. The hum of power conduits beneath the decks set her crest on edge. To her left, Jace walked with loose confidence, eyes darting everywhere. You people ever heard of subtlety? He muttered, nodding at a vendor's stall where coils of living, bioluminescent rope twitched in glass tubes. This place is like Vegas, and a scrapyard had a baby. Kaelira tilted her head. Vegas? A city? He said with a lopsided grin. Back home. Loud, bright, always trying to sell you something you don't need. He gestured at a merchant waving neon feathers that pulsed with faint electricity. Guess some things are universal. His humor drew stares, some of hostility, others of curiosity. THRYNN moved like water, silent, disciplined, their gestures restrained. Jace was fire, restless and unpredictable, his every movement declaring that he belonged nowhere yet feared nothing. They passed under a canopy of shifting holograms advertising star maps, mercenary contracts, and cybernetic augmentations. The marketplace pulsed like a living organ, arteries of beings flowing through its arteries. Kaelira's hand lingered near the hilt of her sidearm. She did not trust the crowd. Her unease proved correct. From the shadow of supply alcove, a cloaked figure darted forward, a blade shimmering with phase light aimed straight for her throat. Kaelira! Jace shouted. She spun, but the angle was wrong. Too close, too fast. Before she could react, Jace threw himself into the strike. The blade scraped his scorched armor, sparks spraying. His fist followed, raw and brutal, connecting with the attacker's jaw. The assassin crumpled, but falling back to reveal scale features. THRYNN. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Kaelira's blood chilled. One of her own. The assassin spat crimson, eyes burning. You are a danger to our people, Kaelira. You bring corruption. Kaelira raised her weapon, fury and shame warring in her chest. But Jace stepped between them, wiping blood from his lip with a crooked smile. You picked the wrong day to try that, he said, and the wrong human to underestimate. The assassin lunged again, but Jace didn't fight like a T-Charwanen. He didn't wait for form or honor. He slammed the raider into a stall of glowing fruit, glass shattering, acid-sweet aroma flooding the air. Improvised, chaotic, yet effective. When the assassin lay unconscious, Kaelira met Jace's eyes. For the first time, respect outweighed suspicion. You are reckless, she said softly. Yeah, he breathed, chest heaving. But it worked. And in that moment, Kaelira realized something her people could never admit. Chaos had its own kind of power. Chapter 4, Gravity and Fire. The fleet gathered above the storm world. Ships aligned in flawless formations. From the stronghold's command deck, Kaelira watched lines of silver hulls stretching against the void, their energy cores pulsing with controlled rhythm. It should have been a moment of pride. Instead, alarms screamed, crimson glyphs flashing across the tactical displays. Shields failing, a technician barked. Primary conduits severed. Sabotage! The flagship's defenses flickered, leaving the heart of the THRYN Armada exposed. Kaelira's crest stiffened. Treachery! Jace leaned over the console, his fingers tracing the schematic with restless energy. You're wide open. If the enemy pushes now, they'll carve through you like... He paused, grinning faintly, like my grandma through birthday cake. Kaelira frowned. Your idioms confuse me. They'll destroy you, he clarified, his tone suddenly hard. Unless we take their carrier out first. Her soldiers scoffed. One shuttle cannot breach a warship. Jace's eyes glinted. Not if you play by your rules. But me? I specialize in breaking rules. Moments later, they rode a stolen courier shuttle across the battlefield, weaving through plasma fire. The hum of the engines rattled Kaelira's bones. Jace gripped the controls with reckless precision, dodging debris and lancing beams that lit the void. Your piloting is madness, Kaelira muttered, clinging to her harness. Madness keeps us alive. Jace shot back, a flash of teeth in the dark. The shuttle slammed into the enemy carrier's hangar, skidding across its deck in a spray of sparks. Sirens wailed. Armed sentries swarmed. Kaelira ignited her blade staff, its glow pure and steady. Jace grabbed a scavenged pulse rifle, testing the weight before grinning. Let's make some noise. They fought down sterile corridors where gravity shifted without warning. One moment their boots anchored, the next they were tumbling in zero-G. Kaelira's movements were elegant, every strike precise, each spin a dance of deadly grace. Jace's were the opposite. Brutal, improvised, turning floating debris into weapons, using his own body as momentum to smash foes against bulkheads. At one turn, Kaelira nearly faltered as her footing failed in zero-G. Jace caught her wrist, anchoring them both against the wall. Don't fight the fall, he said, breathless. Use it. He launched himself off her shoulder, spinning midair, rifle blazing, a reckless move that scattered the enemy's squad. Her chest tightened. He turned chaos into strategy. Where her people saw disorder, he found opportunity. Together, they reached the core chamber, the thrum of the reactor like a beating heart. Jace pulled open a panel, hands flying across alien controls with a gambler's grin. Never thought video games would save the day, he muttered. Kaelira didn't know what that meant, but she felt the shift, the power grid collapsing, the carrier system stuttering. Enemy fire outside dimmed as their flagship faltered. For a breathless moment in the glow of the failing core, Kaelira looked at him. not as a reckless anomaly, but as an ally who made the impossible possible. Madness, she whispered. Human, Jace corrected with a wink. Chapter 5, The Choice of Loyalty. The Stronghold's council chamber loomed like the hollowed heart of a mountain, its vaulted ceiling alive with shifting star maps. Silver banners hung heavy in the recycled air, the glyphs of the THRYNN pulsing faintly as if to remind every warrior of their lineage. Kaelira knelt at the center, her crest lowered, not out of submission, but out of shame. The betrayal cut deeper than any blade. Her mentor, High Warden Seraph, stood above her, robe and authority. His eyes gleamed with the certainty of a zealot. You bring contamination into our heart, Seraph said, voice echoing like cold steel. A human who flaunts our ways, who infects you with doubt. You would cast aside centuries of honor for chaos. Jace leaned against a pillar, arms crossed. He looked almost casual, but Kaelira saw the tension in his jaw. His face was bruised, his suit patched with crude repairs. Still, his eyes burned with that impossible stubbornness. Chaos, Jace said, his voice carrying through the chamber. Funny thing about chaos, it doesn't care about your rules. It doesn't wait for permission. It just happens. And sometimes it's the only thing that keeps you alive. Gasps rippled among the council. To speak so brazenly was unthinkable. Yet Jace spoke as if they were equals, as if their judgment meant nothing. Kaelira's claws dug into the floor. She wanted to defend him, to silence him, to confess everything she could not name. But Saratha's gaze held her like iron. You are THRYNN, her mentor thundered. You are bound to tradition, to purity. Will you forsake all for this creature? The words struck harder than any weapon. Jace straightened, stepping closer, until the alien banners cast shadows across his face. He didn't flinch. Listen, he said, softer now, directed only at Kaelira. Your people, they need more than rules carved into metal. They need someone willing to bleed for them. I'm no priest, no elder, but I know this. When things fall apart, tradition doesn't save you. People do. Kaelira's chest tightened. She remembered the plateau, her broken spear, the circle of enemies. She remembered the sky tearing open, and the human who fell with fire on his heels. Saratha's hand slid to his ceremonial blade. If you stand with him, you stand against me. Kaelira rose, her silhouette framed by the star maps shifting above. For a heartbeat, she felt the weight of centuries pressing on her shoulders. Duty, tradition, blood. Her eyes found Jace's, reckless, unyielding, alive. I will stand, she said, voice steady, with the one who bled beside me when all else failed. Saratha's crest flared with rage. Then you are no longer my disciple. Something inside Kaelira broke, but in the fracture, she felt free. Jace exhaled slowly, giving her the faintest of smiles. Hell of a choice, he murmured. Kaelira turned to face her mentor, her blade igniting with a hiss. No, she said, the only choice. Chapter 6, A Sky of Two Suns. The void burned. Twin suns cast their fire across the battlefield, ships carving trails of flame against the black. The THRYNN fleet, fractured but unbroken, clashed with the Raider armada. Hulls split, spilling oxygen and fire. Escape pods tumbled like sparks. The comm channels bled with voices, shouts, prayers, screams. Amid the chaos, a stolen Raider frigate streaked toward the enemy flagship. Inside its cramped hold, Jace adjusted the straps to his battered drop suit, his knuckles white around a pulse rifle. Across from him, Kaelira checked the charge of her blade staff, the glow reflecting in her silver eyes. You're bleeding, she said, nodding at the bandage wrapped around his arm. Jace smirked, though his face was pale. Yeah, means I'm still alive. Her crest twitched with something between exasperation and admiration. You just on the edge of death. Someone's got to keep morale up. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. Besides, I fight better when I got someone worth fighting for. Before she could answer, the frigate slammed into the flagship's docking bay. The hatch burst open. Fire and steel greeted them. Kaelira surged forward, her staff a line of blazing arcs. Jace followed, less elegant but no less deadly, turning cover into weapons, knocking enemies into the path of her strikes. Together, they carved a path through the crimson-lit corridors, toward the heart of Betrayal. The throne chamber opened before them, vast and echoing. High Warden Sereth waited, clad in ceremonial armor, his blade shimmering like liquid light. His voice thundered above the din of battle. You would drag us into ruin for this human? Kaelira stepped forward, her stance steady. No, for truth, for freedom. Sereth lunged, their blades clashing with a crack like thunder. Sparks rained, each strike a memory. Every lesson he had taught her twisted into betrayal. Around them, Jace fought off Sereth's guards, his movements desperate, furious, blood spattering the polished floor. Kaelira faltered, Sereth's blade grazing her shoulder. Pain seared, her knees buckling. But before the killing stroke fell, Jace barreled into the warden's side, tackling him with reckless force. Don't you dare quit now. Jace shouted, blood streaming from a cut across his brow. Kaelira rose, fire igniting in her chest. With a cry that echoed through the chamber, she struck, staff piercing Sereth's defenses, energy flaring as her blade cut deep. The High Warden collapsed, his voice a whisper of disbelief. Silence followed. Outside the viewport, the Raider fleet faltered, their command broken. THRYNN ships surged, pressing the advantage. The tide turned. Jace slumped against a pillar, chest heaving. Well, he rasped, guess tradition won't be sending you flowers. Kaelira knelt beside him, her claws gentle against his battered armor. She looked past the smoke, past the broken chamber, to the twin suns blazing across the void. You fell from the sky, she whispered, her voice trembling, but you rose into my heart. Jace blinked, startled, then smiled, a raw, human smile that carried every scar and every hope. Guess that makes two of us. And as the suns lit the battlefield in gold and crimson, Kaelira knew the war had changed forever. Not because of victory, not because of tradition, but because of a human who refused to break. The hum of the starship's engines was steady now, no longer the strain grown of battle, but the heartbeat of survival. Outside the viewport, alien constellations stretched across the void, fields of blue fire, twin suns fading behind them. Wreckage from the Raider fleet drifted like ghostly shadows, glowing faintly where plasma still smoldered. Kaelira stood at the glass, her reflection framed by stars. Her blade staff was gone, shattered in the duel that ended her mentor's reign. What remained was herself, unbound, scarred, but free. Behind her came the uneven rhythm of human footsteps. Jace leaned against the frame, arm in a sling, his grin crooked despite the exhaustion in his eyes. So, he said, voice low, what's next for a fallen warden? And a guy who literally fell out of the sky? Kaelira turned to him, studying the man who had defied tradition, death, and destiny itself. No banners hung behind him, no bloodline etched in his veins, only that impossible resilience. Next, she said softly, we build something new. Not THRYNN, not human, ours. He blinked, the grin faltering into something rawer, truer. You mean that? Her crest lowered, an intimate gesture in her culture. I do. Jace exhaled, stepping closer until a faint pulse of artificial gravity swayed them together. He pressed his forehead to hers, alien and human, Tradition and chaos, past and future. Then let's make the stars remember, he whispered. And in the silence beyond the engines, the universe seemed to listen,